In 1916, Vera is born into a Russian Orthodox family in the Ukraine. In 1922, Bill Armstrong is born in Modesto, California. In high school, Vera emerges as a gifted athlete. She breaks national track and field records and is selected for the 1940 Olympics in Japan. World War II begins and the games are canceled when Japan invades China. In 1941, Germany invades her home country. In 1942, Bill enlists in the United States Army. He joins Patton's Third Army and takes on the dangerous job of driving ammunitions to firing batteries. In 1944, the Germans retreat from the Ukraine, taking all the young people as forced labor, including Vera, and force her to walk 600 kilometers to Romania. During the walk, an occupying German Army field hospital learns she has a degree in physiotherapy, and she's assigned to aid wounded German soldiers. The hospital moves to France, and when D-Day occurs, it returns to Germany, abandoning Vera. When the war ends, Bill's division is designated as an occupying force that is sent to Austria to help rebuild the country. On bicycle, Vera attempts to return to her home in the Ukraine. Along the way, she stops in Austria. It is here Bill and Vera meet.
We were playing volleyball one Wednesday, and we always had to play a sport or take care of our equipment on Wednesdays. And up rode this gorgeous creature on a bicycle.
So they were playing volleyball, and I said to the dentist, I said, look at that, they playing volleyball, and I can see they are not good volleyball players, just batting the ball. So I say, I'm going to go and ask if I can play volleyball or not. And she said, you wouldn't dare. I said, just watch me.
I fell in love the second I saw her. So did the rest of the bunch. She stood about 6 feet tall, had long brown hair, long tan legs. She was wearing a dark flowered skirt, a sateen blouse that was very tight. And she had 2 straps that came up from her skirt over her shoulders, and those straps accentuated the fullness of her body, shall I say.
And he was so cute. He has a beautiful teeth, beautiful curly hair, kind of reddish hair. He was a good-looking man.
And she said something to one of the fellows on the other side of the net. Turned out fortunate because he spoke Polish. Well, Polish and Russian are very similar. He says, she's speaking Russian. She wants to play volleyball. Oh, swell. We thought that was grand. And right away, all the 3 graders, first 3 graders, that means sergeants. And on my team, they all moved up to the net because she played net on the other side. And what they didn't know, none of us knew, was she had been on the Ukrainian women's volleyball team, and they never lost a game. So when she got a chance to spike the ball, she'd just drive it down our throat. She was quite a lady, and we asked Polak, that's what we called him, ask her if she's going to come back next Wednesday, and she said she would. So we were there. It was so strange that after the game, she went over to the little stream there that ran along the court and washed her feet, and that before she put her shoes on. The next Wednesday, every one of us had a towel and a bar of soap.
So I play volleyball. After playing volleyball, that guy, same Czechoslovakian guy, asked me if I would come with him to the GI club where they had the dance and drinks and music, I guess, to dance with. So I say, yes, I will, but could I bring a friend with me? And he said, sure. So I brought a friend.
So the date came, and Polak asked me to be the partner for this girl that was coming, who turned out to be not too bad looking. And so the 4 of us went to the club. Polak wanted to dance. This Ukrainian girl, Vera, didn't want to dance. Lydia, my date, wanted to dance. I didn't want to dance. So the 2 of them, Polak and Lydia, soon disappeared. We don't know where they went.
So I end up with Bill, with Lydia's date. And so we sat over there, and I don't drink. I did smoke in that time. And so they were dancing. So when there was time to go, there was no Lydia and no her partner. We completely was abandoned.
I was left with this creature, and she spoke a little bit of English, but a little more than, actually she knew more than she let me know. And I spoke a little bit of pidgin German. She spoke fluent German. So we were able to communicate.
And he was very kind and very, very gentle man. And I like him right from beginning.
Little by little we got to know each other, and how it came about I don't know, but finally I would go walking with her. At the end of the walk she would shake my hand. I didn't dare try to do anything else. She could have walloped me a good one.
So then he come over and would sit, and there was a bench close by where I was staying with a friend, and whistle Russian songs. So he let me know that he's there. So I will go and sit with him on a bench. That's where we had the dates.
So we got to know each other better and better. And one day she had a room at a hotel in Braunau, and she got one meal a day because she was acting as interpreter for the city mayor when the Russians came over for business, whatever. And one day I was going to show her how to shoot a pistol, which I had at the old 38 Smith & Wesson. So I made a little lunch, and we went for a picnic out in the woods. I found a nice place where there was a dirt embankment, and I put a playing card up, and I backed off about 15 feet. I took 6 shots at it and hit it about 4 times. So I turned to her and I said, "Now that's good shooting."
When I belonged to the Railroad Club, I went on a date with some guard who carried a gun. And when he wanted to show off his ability of shooting, I outshot him. And I never saw him again. Then when Bill asked me, he has a little picnic, little food what was so short all the time, and to go and shoot the gun. I said, there goes another one. And I was debating, should I just pretend, just shoot on the side of it, or should I just shoot it? And I thought, well, if I show my ability, if he doesn't like it, then that I don't want any part of that kind of man.
I reloaded the gun, and I started in with the gun safety and a little talk about how to handle a gun. Of course, I didn't know whether she understood me. She just snatched it out of my hand, aimed that thing, and fired 6 shots. I looked at that card, and she'd hit it all 6 shots. I said, I got a good girl here.
When I did better than he did, he was happy. He was so happy and so proud, and so entirely different than usually men would act.
She thought that I would be angry and not have anything to do with her. And I sat down next to her, and I looked at her, and I started to laugh, and I put my arm around her. For the first time, I said, that was beautiful.
And I said, how you could help not to like the man like that? That person with that kind of disposition.
Then we got to know each other a little better. And then the word came that we were going to go home, shipped home. And I told her that, and she said, well, I guess I'd better go home too.
There was a time what is really hard to make a decision. And one of them, what I decided, maybe I should go back.
There was a Russian repatriation lager in Salzburg. She'd heard about it, and she asked me if I would take her there. So I borrowed a Jeep, and I said yes, which shocked her. She thought I would protest and say no. But what could I do? My outfit was going home. That was a terrible day when I took her down there. She rode very quietly in that Jeep, never said much. When we got to the logger, I carried her 2 suitcases in. And the 3 people in there that were running it was an old girls' school, dingy, nasty, stinking of cabbage in there. They had the gymnasium room, they had put up partitions with curtains, and they told her she could have one of them.
So when I got there, then I saw that I made a mistake.
And she turned to me and she said, I guess this is goodbye.
Well, he became a good friend. So, and I thought if I lose him, crushed.
So I kissed her. That was the first time too. And I left her. And I got back to my outfit. Lydia was waiting, and she came up and started beating on my chest. You killed Vera, you killed Vera. She no go home. Stalin kill her. She worked for the Germans. I said, what am I going to do now? And that evening, sitting in my room, I turned on the radio. I heard an announcement from Vienna, where the General Clark had the American headquarters. Jobs were available for vets if they could qualify. I thought, hot dog, I'll get me a job in Vienna, I'll get married, and I'm going to go down and save her.
So Bill decided to get me out of it.
Well, a week later, as soon as I could go, was the next Saturday. And I thought, oh, they may have shipped her out by now. But when I got there, she was still there. So we went for a walk, and we were in a park, and I got down on my knees, and I said, honey, will you marry me?
In the first place, I didn't know what he's supposed to go on one knee. And I thought, why is he on his knee? Why don't he just ask me?
She said, how we do that? Very practical woman. I said, I don't know, but I'm going to get a job. I get a job in Vienna.
I was very happy. I was very glad he did. It solved lots of my problems. And I was so tired to live alone. And I thought it will be just so easier to share responsibility together.
We went back to the lager, and I wasn't aware of it, but there was an American officer. I had an office there, and I happened to see him, and I asked him, sir, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm here to see that the Russians, these Soviets, don't repatriate people that don't want to go, because as long as they send people, they could stay there. They didn't want to go home, not back to what they came from. Well, I said, well, I would like to get her out of here. He said, well, if you're going to have to be very careful. Are you armed? I said, yes, sir, I have a pistol. I had it tucked in under my jacket, my Eisenhower jacket. He said, well, technically speaking, I should take that from you. He said, but you better keep it. I want you to come into this office, and I'll give you, you lock the office. And you stay in this office till 6 in the morning. At 6, I want you out the front door, not before and not later. So I told Vera what was going on, and we went into that office and locked the door. Now, there was no toilet facilities, no water, nothing, and we sat in that office all night. And these 3 Soviets guys, one guy had a peg leg, and he would stump along, and he had an accordion, and he could play about the first 5 bars of the Russian sailors' dance, and it was over and over and over again. And one had the jacket of an officer, the other one had the pants of an officer. And they got drunk, and they were beating on the door to the office and shouting things, and Vera was just shaking. She said, oh, the terrible things they're saying. Well, finally, I guess they pooped out. 6 o'clock came, and I unlocked the door, and we well, just a little prior to 6, we tippy-toed down the hall, she carrying the suitcases, and I was walking backward so I could keep an eye on the door in case these fellas came out to stop us. We got about halfway up the long hall and out they came. And they had a grin on their face that wasn't pleasant. They were really going to get me. Because I was in Soviet territory, I had no authority to be there. They could do anything they wanted to me, and the Americans couldn't do anything about it. So I opened my jacket and I pulled out my trusty .38. I didn't aim it at them, but I held it so they could see that I had it. One of them had what looked to be a baseball bat, and the other one I think had a piece of pipe, a length of pipe. And the third one with the peg leg had his accordion. Well, I don't know, maybe he was going to play me out. But I was daring him to come for me, and Vera, when she got to the door, I said, honey, open it and get the heck out of here. Don't worry about me. As I got near the door, they came closer, and I just started pointing the gun at them at that point. I stepped out that door, and I heard a voice say, get the hell out of here, get in that weapons carrier and go. I turned around and looked up at the biggest GI I've ever seen in my life, and he had a Tommy gun. And he was standing there, and when I got out, he blocked the door. So I ran down, got into the back of the weapons carrier. Vera's suitcases were already in there. She was in the front seat with her driver. And off we went to the railroad station. And as we left, I looked back, and these three guys were trying to push their way past that sergeant. In any event, when we got to the railroad station, I told Vera, we've got this far. The driver said, I got to get back to the motor pool, and he left. Now think about it, that officer helped us get away by having that vehicle there. That's why he wanted us out that door at 6. So when we got to the train station, I told Vera, surely they have made a phone call, and there's be somebody coming here, and they'll take you back. They will try to take you back, and honey, I will see that they don't. She said, well, do what you can. We sat there, we had a 45-minute wait for the train before it left for Brownhow. And through the front door came two men wearing black snap brim hats. One stood by the front door, and the other one went over to the door to lead out to the platform. And I said, that's it. The Soviets, the NKGB is here, and they're going to get me. Neither one of them smiled at us. They just stood and stared at us. And Vera started to shake, and I wasn't much better. Well, anyway, they announced the train was ready to go. They load up, and Vera stood up. I said, honey, take your suitcases. And the one by the front door started for me. And as we got to the exit door, go out on the platform, the guy standing there winked at me, and he said, the lieutenant says, have a good trip, kids.
And they had the people there to see us to get on a train. We did now until we was ready to go on a train.
They were our boys. They stayed on that platform until the train left. So that was another lucky incident for us.
And it was relief, but not complete. There was not complete relief until we got through the Russian zone, back in American zone. Then I could breathe free. And of course, I had a hard time not to cry. Happy, cry for happy.